Last time we talked about how women crave emotional intimacy. Is that true? It's true, yes. And that we all want to be safe, seen, and understood. So if y'all write those 3 words down and you're talking with someone, remember that. It's not about you. Be thinking of those 3 words. How can they feel safe? How can I let them be seen and understood? And we also talked about obstacles that we have in friendships. And then we talked about qualities of a good friend. And I explained to you and demonstrated to you the principle of here I am and there you are. Do you remember that? So briefly, because a lot of you were not here, and I don't know why those that came didn't come back. They're probably out there amongst the people going, there you are. There you are. But briefly, what that means is we can have one of 2 attitudes when we're in a place. We can subconsciously be wondering, like having the tension on our own self in our mind of, here I am, I'm so scared. We're not really saying here I am, but we're saying, I'm so scared, I don't know what to do. What are they going to think of me? Da, 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 right? It's all about thoughts are on me. Or there you are. We can switch that, go, oops, I'm doing it again. I'm thinking about myself, and go, like Deborah was saying, there you are. And we could say, how are you doing, Marnie? How was the golf cart ride around the neighborhood? And we can talk and be about them. Okay? And so that's the difference. And the Bible is very clear on God wanting us to be about others well. And then we talked about how to begin a friendship. And it starts with believing yourself. And I asked you all to do a little inventory on yourself and think about, what do you have to offer other people? And you can think about, first of all, starting with your character, your personality, skill sets that you have, and your heart for others. Like maybe you're a great listener, okay? And I wanted you to take inventory on that, because a lot of us have never taken the time to think about the beauty, the way that God has created you individually. And some of you are like, I can't think of very many things. Well, your confidence will grow as you begin to do what Deborah said, and that is stop yourself from self-thinking and say, okay, I'm going to talk to somebody else. I'm going to take that risk and be more vulnerable. And you do, as God puts people on your mind. You have a principle, a way of life of asking the Holy Spirit, today, just show me the needs of my children, show me how I can reach, do something for my husband. How can I love when you hear somebody that's going through a rough time? Lord, give me an idea. And talk to him in your mind throughout the day. You can talk to him out loud as well, but talk to him. And then when you have a creative idea come in your mind, trust that that's God giving you an idea. Then do it without any expectation of praise for that or recognition, because sometimes we do something and we're fearful of rejection a lot of times, right? Don't worry about the results. Just be obedient to the idea he gives you. And that confidence will actually grow as you're like, I'm just a vessel with, ideas from God, and you grow in your confidence because it's in him. And so that's pretty cool. So we talked about that. This time, we are going to talk about some obstacles standing in the way of cultivating friendships, and then how to build your confidence and steps to making friendships. All right? So we talked a little bit about focus on yourself. So here's some questions. Do you ever find yourself thinking, why don't people want to be my friend? Why don't they come over and talk to me? Why don't they invite me? Why don't they include me? My house isn't big enough. I don't make the kind of money they make. She might not like me. I'm shy. I'm introverted, and all those things. And again, what'd you catch for the focus on that? I. So the problem isn't that you think too highly or too lowly of yourself, it's that you think of yourself too often. And this is true for all of us. And so once you notice that, that is what's great. A lot of people don't have the ability to self-reflect. And that is key in growing with Christ, moving forward in life, right? Growing. And so stop yourself when you have these thoughts, bring that thought captive, and then begin to think about the other person. So most likely without realizing it, you're consumed with yourself, and this continual filling of the mind with self or negativity, what others think of you, comparing yourself or your means to others has caused you not to take a step forward and take steps to reach out, to become better friends with people, to make friendships that likely are all around you with other people wanting to have more friends or better friends. So the solution of winning the war of the mind is bringing those thoughts captive and just recognizing it and then doing the opposite, right? And that's training our minds. And like I said, leaving the results to God. So rather than be intimidated by somebody's impressive skills, and you find yourself thinking, I'm so jealous, or I wish those are all about yourself. Stop that. And instead, when you think something nice, like, wow, Madison makes the best banana pudding ever. Instead of thinking, I want to hide the banana pudding so nobody sees it, that she made it, or more likely, I want to hide it so I can eat it all. But it's to like train yourself to be aware that you're thinking something nice about somebody and say it. You know, in the past few weeks, I've talked with different people, and one person was telling me that she's never heard her mom say a kind word like that. So when I say, when you think something nice, say it, it sounds easy. Some people are trapped in that, and their parents, their grandparents never did that. And so a child can grow up insecure. A child can grow up thinking, being a perfectionist, because one day they're finally going to get some approval. But you all are hearing this today, so it shouldn't be from us. When we think something nice in our kid, in a friend, rather than comparing, say it. Say, I like the way that you, whatever. It could be, you are so friendly at the restaurant. I really admire that in you. And that's actually a way to begin to build friendships also, is to learn to be honest and open. And you could use the word like curious. Okay, so one little tip on developing friendships is when you see something that you admire in somebody, or something that you found interesting in a conversation, you can say, Catherine, like say that I just heard her in a conversation over there, and I'm wanting to make friendships, right? And more importantly than that, God calls us to be friendly. To have many friends, you must show yourself friendly and to love others well. But I'm demonstrating right now. Like, let's say I really found Catherine to be very interesting, and I would love to see if we could like take our kids to the park together, maybe, or if I could just develop a friendship with her, right? So I could say, Catherine, I heard you talking about organizing your home. I'm curious about that. Tell me more. Do you see just a few little key phrases that you could have is, I'm curious about that. Or tell me more. And that's very simple. Is that honest? It's sincere, so you're not being fluffy. And that's important in developing friendships. And then another part of that could be that you then ask her if, like, hey, I'm curious about that. I'd love to have your help. Do women have trouble asking for help? Do you have trouble? Okay, don't raise your hand, but probably most of us do. I didn't see Valerie's hand up there. Okay. But a lot of us do, and we have these walls up. And it's a beautiful thing when walls begin to come down and we let people in. and we let them help, and we find a safe spot. And if you're overwhelmed in life, which I think we definitely go through seasons of that, then inviting people in to help is really important. Like, Catherine, I could really use some help. I'm drowning in that kitchen drawer that collects everything. You know what I'm talking about, people? And could you give me some tips? Or can I take you to lunch? I'd love to hear more about that. And then the other key to that is that you are not fearing rejection. Now, I say that, but in our heads, we might be thinking that. What if she says no? What if she says no? She says no. Next. And so, would you say no? Oh, see, she said yes, so ask her.
No, I would say. That was a trick question.
Yes, it was. That's how I felt about every day of college. I'm just going to be honest. Every professor tried to trick me. If you know, you know, right? Okay. All right. But you can ask, and then learn to craft your wording such that you're given an invitation, like, that's not creepy. But that's like, hey, and like you can say a specific time, like on Tuesdays I'm available. I don't know if that works for you, but is that something you'd be interested in doing? Okay, and then you can even make it be like a limited time. So she's like, I'm going to be trapped. You can say, I have between 1 and 2. Okay, and then she might feel like I can handle an hour of you. So I think it's really important that I mention to you some obstacles that I have found to be some of the biggest obstacles to people developing friendships. Okay, so I want us to all just think about ourselves, because when I talk about these things, you're going to be thinking about, oh yeah, I know this person, but that's not the point. The point is, let's ask the Lord, show me blind spots, show me ways that I could improve my skills of being friendly to people and developing friendships. So here's some things that I've really noticed. I'm going to be specific. Do y'all want this? Specific is, and I want you just to ask yourself, okay? People talk too much. And so you could be, together, it could even be like a small group of ladies, and one person just keeps talking. And it could just be 2 people, and one person talks too much. So if that's you, well, you know the remedy, right? It's pause and go, wait, I'm doing that. I'm not allowing silence. I'm not allowing space for the person who might be thinking, I can't keep up with you. For one thing, they could be thinking that. But another thing they could be thinking is, it's always about you. The conversation keeps turning back to that person. So you talk too much. And when I say you, I'm talking about all of us, right? But I'm using the word you. So I should say we. So it could be that. So ask yourself, do I allow the other person to communicate? And not just allow, am I inviting it? Am I asking good questions? Tell me more. I heard you say this. And allow silence to take place for them to share. And then when they start talking, if you think of something that, oh, that reminds me of this about me, refrain from it and ask them another question about it. Not that you have a list of questions in your head and you're going to fire them at the person, but that you're listening so that you then have something additional to find out more about them. And another thing is negativity. So ask yourself, what kind of tone do I present in groups or in one-on-one, in your family dynamics? Are you negative or are you positive? Now, really, we can all be negative, okay? But the key is to catch ourselves. And the more that we do this, we catch ourselves before we begin to say it or demonstrate it. And one way of being negative is to find fault with what the person is saying. Well, I don't know about that. I think, and then what we've taught the person to do is they don't feel safe sharing with you. So we begin to have closed up people around us because we have role modeled exactly a relationship. We have done that where we've shut people down. It could even be our husbands or our kids, right? Has that ever happened? Well, yes, it's happened to me as well. But in general, I would watch for the negativity and learn to capture those kind thoughts that you have. We have them. But some people's kind, like they see something nice and they're like, but probably, and it becomes negative. So capture the nice thought and say it to somebody. Like if you're like, well, never mind. You got the point. Okay. And then interrupting is a very common one. And I see that, there's people with such great personalities and have so much to offer in relationships and in friendships, but they interrupt. And so it causes people not to enjoy being around them as much or want to get into a deeper conversation with them because the person or us, we are not allowing people to fully share and express things going on in their life and things important to them, things they might want to process with us if we allowed them to fully present. Like the Bible says, fully hear the matter. And then talking over people. So those all are kind of in the same line, aren't they? Okay, the next thing is to build your confidence. The key to attracting friends, a key to this, is to become more and more confident. There's a book that has different leadership laws in it, and one of them is called the Law of the Lid. And it simply means that we are going to attract people to us that are up to our confidence level, right? So if we are negative and down on ourselves, we're attracting people that are similar to that. And so to begin to pour into your life things that raise your confidence in yourself, which would be things that we find our identity in Christ, not in comparing to other people, but into like things that we have to share with other people, share things that we are good at and gifted at, and really also studying God's Word. Proverbs and Psalms is the key to transformation that takes place in our hearts and in our lives. And what I said about last time about expect, trust, obey, do you remember that? This is a key principle that I try to operate with. So expect, as a believer, expect for the Holy Spirit to guide me and give me ideas of who to reach out to, how to do it. So expect. If you have Christ in your life, He wants to commune with us. So that talking is still small voice. It's an idea popping up that we didn't have before. Okay? So expect. The next part is trust. Trust that was Him. Trust. Trust that idea. And then trust, expect, obey. Just do it. Do that idea. Expect nothing in return because you're just simply loving, communing with God. As you do that, He will put you in bigger and bigger and more scary situations that you can't believe because you might be coming from, I'm too scared to do any of that, which can be many of us, right? But the more we engage in that and operate with those principles, the more we have confidence because we're not doing it for any other purpose except to bless others and to be a friend to others. I mentioned if you think something nice, say it. But another thing is if you hear something nice, pass it on. Let's say that together. If you hear something nice, pass it on. So that means Paula, I had a family reunion this weekend, and Paula makes the most delicious bolo de jolo. It's a rolled cake with guava in it. There's some downstairs. And cake pops, you make them too. And so she made them for our family reunion. and Paula. They loved them. So, yes, so thank you so much for doing that. So, see, it's that simple. I heard people say how much they love it, and I'm making sure I tell Paula about it. As soon as you hear nice things about people, you can text them and say, hey, so-and-so said this. If it's something you're not sure if you should pass on, then ask the person, may I share this, what you said, with that person? I think it will really encourage her. And pass it on. Those are good friendship qualities as well. So the practical steps of making friends, we're going to move into that now, is start with people you know. I think a lot of us have had ideas of who, like what a friend would look like. And some of us might be thinking, I want a friend that calls every day, that we go shopping with, that we do trips with. And I used to think I wanted that, but then I found I really don't. So you need to think about your time that you have available to be committed to such a relationship where the two of you are invested in each other like that. All right. But start with people you know. All right. There's people in this room, you know, maybe you were having dinner tonight with them and you found something interesting that, oh, I think that would be really fun to do this, you know, or we have music in common. I think that would be fun to do this. You know, so start with people you know, and then expand maybe how you've seen this in the past. For example, if you work, maybe your friends are mostly at church, and you've not thought about people at work being friends. And take a look at them. Think about the different people there and it might just be a friend that you have lunch with and that you can share a conversation with there. Okay? And you get to know them by asking questions and all of that. It might be in your children's activities that you do, people you sit. Valerie, we did a lot of that, didn't we? People you sit on the bench with when you're watching your daughter play volleyball, your kids play basketball, or whatever. They might be right there. And we've kind of compartmentalized that those are friends they're just parents of basketball players, but they could be friends. So consider the different circles that you're in, and is there anyone there that you would like to deepen a friendship with, even if it's just for the time that you're together with those activities. Another thing you could do is join interest groups. My daughter, one of my kids moved to Atlanta and didn't know anybody. She just graduated from college, and she Googled, or whatever you do. What do you do? Googled? She Googled pickleball Christians. And she found a church that offered pickleball, and she met a great network of people through that. She was only there 1 year, and then she went on and went to go back to school for her master's. But that 1 year, she made really good friendships from thinking about interest groups. And I know Patty and I play pickleball. That's a good thing to make friendships through pickleball, right? So think about activities that are of interest to you, or join interest groups. And don't just go one time. Like maybe you like to read, and so you're going to go to a book club, and you go there and it's so awkward. Go at least 3 times. Because the first time we're all going to be awkward. The second time we at least know where to sit. And then the third time we begin to build friendships. So you've heard different people's interaction, their input, and you might find something of interest with a person that you could say, I'm curious about that. You mentioned your boys. What kind of sports do they play? All right. And then, of course, think about your beliefs. And church is a great place to make good friendships and begin to do that. And take the risk and ask people, hey, would you like, I found that really interesting, the input that you gave in church, or I'm new to the area, or I'm new to church, new to this, and I was wondering if I could meet up with you and we go to lunch. From 1 to 1:30. Do y'all get it? That was supposed to be a joke. Okay. And, invite them to do that. And then I think a thing that a lot of people find hard to do, and it's something that I'm realizing more and more, is the place that honesty has in friendships. So that could be me expressing to you, I really have enjoyed your company. Do we find that intimidating? No, some do and some don't. But to express that, I really enjoyed our time together. I'd love to get together again. And sometimes we're just thinking, I hope they ask me out next time. Like that, reciprocate evenly, keep score. No, don't do that. Express some things that you've noticed about people that you really enjoy. And then when you're ready to, I remember Patty and I talking about this a lot as young moms and trying to, build a network of friends and all, is the importance of putting a date on the calendar. Are we all guilty of saying, let's get together? Hey, let's have dinner. Sure. And then we don't. You be the one that says, how about next Friday? Or how about 2 months from now on a Thursday at 7? But you be the one to do that so that it takes place. And don't be the one, like if you are a person, this totally, I can relate to this, that is one that says, let's get together, and then you don't. Catch yourself saying it before you say it, and don't say it. Mm-hmm. Unless you're prepared to say, let's get together. How about, and then name a date. Okay? You can change that behavior. I have, and it's made a difference in that. Okay, so a couple more things. I want to go over some verses on friendships. A friend loveth at all times. That's Proverbs 17:17. Proverbs 27:17 is a friendly discussion, is as stimulating as sparks that fly when iron strikes iron. That's an awesome verse. Proverbs 27:19, a mirror reflects a man's face, but what he is really like is shown by the kind of friends he chooses. That shows the importance of the friends that we are making and developing, and also to teach our children these verses and the importance of who they're hanging with. A man that has many friends must show himself friendly. That's Proverbs 18:24. And Romans 12:15, rejoice with them that do rejoice and weep with them that weep. When's the last time you did that? Just yourself, don't think about anybody else. When's the last time somebody had something really awesome happen in their life? To them, it was awesome. And you made a point to congratulate them, to call them, to celebrate with them. What about when your children are growing up and they want a part in a play, but their friend gets it? How do you react? Do you tell your kid, yeah, they always get the part? They always get everything. Thereby teaching your children an attitude to have in life. Or do you teach, hug, I'm so sorry, I know that hurts. And you feel for them, you mourn with them, but you teach them how to rejoice with those who are rejoicing. That's a good friend. When's the last time you rejoiced with somebody? And then when's the last time you mourned with a friend going through a rough time? That could mean crying together. It could also mean being present and sitting and have nothing to say except your presence. Can you think of somebody in your world right now going through something very exciting? And how about somebody going through something hard? Those are the kinds of things you say, Lord, show me what to do. How can I love that person well? I had dinner with a friend last night whose child is going through an awful time, an injured child. And I have had a child that was injured in this same way. And I had dinner with her, and my husband and her husband did as well. And we cried together, and we also laughed about things. But that verse just resonated. Now, my child went through the same thing. And you know how I've said, make sure it's not about me, it's about her. That was my goal, is to listen. But there's also times to share part of your journey that you've had because it helps. And that's what you want to check, is the motive before you share. If it's turning the attention to how my situation was versus being there for the other person, that's how I make a decision to share or not share. But it was such a beautiful time, and it was so encouraging because my friend was scared. It was a journey through the unknown, not knowing how the child is going to do in this health crisis. Now, she hasn't wanted anybody to come see her for a good while. This happened months ago, and she wasn't ready. What do you do when you want to reach out to a friend and they're not saying, yes, come over, and we start feeling insecure, like, okay, maybe I don't know what to do, right? We all feel like that, right? You ask God to give you ideas, and then you just keep trying. And the trying is just being present. So it could be a text. I want you to know I'm praying for you. No need to reply. Have you ever been in a situation where you can't reply to anybody? You're just too broken. Or it could be, I'm praying. If you want to share any prayer requests, know that I'm praying. Learning to love others well is so very important, and we're called to do it. And include your kids in this process. When their friend goes through a rough time, pray with them for their friends and teach them these skills of loving others well. And then be a safe place. When somebody opens up to you, which they do learn to open up as you show that you're safe, then continue to not share confidences. What's that word? Is that a word? Confidentiality? Yeah. That you're a confidant to them. And now, how are you doing in that? How are you doing with mourning with people and rejoicing with people? And I mentioned to you about last time a little bit about being careful about how we might show judgment to others without meaning to. And that's super important to do that, to be careful about that, because if somebody's sharing with something with us and we disagree with them, first of all, we need to hear them out fully and be a safe place for all of their thoughts to do. And then we can say, would you like thoughts on this? And then there's also a time, the Bible does tell us, a very good friend does help their friend and point them to Christ. There definitely are many, many times when we need to have wise input to people to point them to Christ. Those are the kind of friends I love. I'll have lunch with a friend and I'll pour my heart out to them, cry or whatever, and then I really look forward to having their input to point me towards right thinking or point me towards hope in a situation that seems so desperate and so hard. So I wanted to ask you all, how are you doing with those things? We all can improve, and we can all be better friends and be on the journey to make friends, to take that risk, to look around and see new opportunities to develop friendships, to cultivate them, and really to have our focus be on them and really learn people skills and showing our interest to them, and then taking that risk about a next time to get together with them to grow deeper in your friendship with them.